Another day with a whole lot of training camp news and a Best Ball Mania draft for $1.5 million on top of that. Can we now say technically that me and Bill Belichick, two peers, two people just existing to shill underdog promo codes? Let's find out. Of course, I am already in a draft room here. Today we will picking from the 5 spot. Christian McCaffrey goes 101. No surprises there. Let's have some fun today. And don't use Bill Belichick's promo code. Use my promo code SPLASH on Underdog. We'll see what we get in the 5 hole, though. Free standard draft to start here. So looking like one of Chase, Jefferson, Amon-Ra coming our way. Should be a fun one, though. Obviously, 0 RB would like to make more of those true 0 RB teams coming up. But it's going to be mostly an exposure game for me moving forward. I'm okay with Jamar Chase. Still holding in at camp for the Bengals. Amon-Ra St. Brown, I do want to get more exposure to as well. But I don't want to be under on Chase, so we're enough over the field on Amon-Ra. Got over a little bit on Jefferson the other day, so we'll go Jamar Chase here to start at pick 5. Training camp news, though, of course, have to give it to you guys every day here, right up top. We got DJ Moore getting a new deal, $110 million over 4 years, $82.6 million guaranteed. So even though there are some faint whispers, hey, what if Rome Odunze becomes the Bears wide receiver 1? DJ Moore is getting paid like the wide receiver 1 big time. One of the best deals in the league right now. Best deals right now in the league, but a great deal for him, but maybe not over the course of time. Great contract overall. Khalil Shakir, Curtis Samuel, Keon Coleman, all have gotten bits of hype the last few days. Just want to point that out. The drum beat is pretty strong there for those Bills receivers. People have concerns about them. People say it's the worst wide receiver core ever. There's now a lot of different sources saying that all these guys have been consistent, especially Shakir, especially Samuel. But Keon Coleman has been with the first team this entire time, looked good, making touchdown plays in the end zone and in the red zone. That's what you want to see from Keon Coleman. Coleman being less involved between the 20s has been something I would say I've had some concern about. I think his biggest value is going to be being that big-bodied red zone, end zone target. And it seems like his workload so far has been a lot of that short yardage stuff, throwing it up to him in those kind of plays. So he's going to have usage there, but don't be shocked if his overall yardage is not that great. Got a bunch of GMs here. Appreciate you guys being here live. Another glorious, hyper-fragile Tuesday. We'll see how it goes. And yeah, you're off by a day as well. That's a good point. Mr. Hoopy Butthole here. Ooh, we back from Vegas. Got in a draft with Rick Sanchez yesterday. What are the odds? Two peers getting together in a draft room. Other training camp news. Josh Palmer, DJ Chark had a quote-unquote statement practices. So the other part of the report, these two and Ladd McConkey clear the best 3 wide receivers for the Chargers. Some positive Quentin Johnston news lately. He's been playing better. I think yesterday was not one of those days, though. Had some drops, according to The Athletic. So Quentin Johnston safely behind. No surprises there. But Josh Palmer being a part of it. Again, I know we've had the great Ladd McConkey debate. Now our Splash Play VIP Discord is mostly just me negging Adam about Ladd McConkey, our pal Adam. That said, it does seem like Ladd McConkey is in the mix there, being used well enough. It's just a question of how much passing volume there is and how good is Josh Palmer. I think Josh Palmer might be the receiver you want the most, and he's not priced like it right now. Right now, Ladd is priced like it. I got a little bit for some picks, so we'll keep going through the news. Jalen Polk looks like the New England wide receiver 1 through 6 practices. That's the big news item there. No surprises again. But Polk getting used more underneath is a good sign for him. A lot of his numbers in college used more as a downfield target. I thought that was more of going to be his game style. I think that is still going to be a lot of his game style. But getting the underneath stuff on top of that is going to help him out a little bit. And again, getting it probably from Brissett to start the year, going to be a little more reliable for Drake May when he comes in, whenever that may be. I think closer to the week 14 bye. And you see maybe some more downfield stuff going Polk's way. But he's in a good situation. Price tag works. So Jalen Polk, somebody I think we should feel good about right now. And frankly, I want to make sure I'm with the field on, even though his price tag has come up to a bit of a tough spot, I think, for me. So this one is the big one for me. We got Terry McLaurin on the thumbnail, which actually I did put on there before the news item. I read the whole piece on The Athletic today. After the best practice day yet for Jahan Dotson in Washington, Jahan Dotson says of Jaden Daniels, with him, anything is possible, is the exact quote. So let's sit on that for a moment. We'll make another pick here. We got Jamar Chase. All right, Saquon Barkley here. Waddle. Tough spot around the board. Waddle does go in the spot pretty reliably. Ayuk creeps down a little bit more. Saquon is a player. Gonna go Waddle, though. Still not dying to get more Saquon when I've got 7%. I'll take my Saquon strategically. If Saquon keeps missing time for personal days, maybe his ADP even comes down a little bit. But he's come up in casual season. Could be a mistake. Maybe he does get more reliably to the 1-2 turn. but I'll take the shot that I can get Saquon cheaper at other times. Obsessed with my Jaden bags. There you go. I mean, look, again, really making him sound like a Christ-like figure. I think we have to feel pretty okay about if the bags are there. It still probably won't lead to Jaden Daniels surging in ADP because it seems like he is price locked in the late 90s, early 100s. But the camp looks good. I really feel like, again, I read every report, read every team or whatever, and I'm a little biased for Washington for sure with my bags being there since basically day one of the big board opening. That said, for Jaden Daniels, I really feel like the signal is there. I feel like the Washington signal is there. Want to see better days, but he's throwing multiple 40-yard bombs to Terry McLaurin in practice, our thumbnail boy today. Like, it looks exactly like it has to look right now. And I'm excited to see it happen more. I think maybe preseason games, maybe we see it in an actual game and people turn their heads. That's, I think, our hope for getting some late Jaden Daniels steam / Commander steam. Aaron Rodgers is not going to play in the preseason, so take him out of your DFS lineups for that. Also, no Chicago Bears starters tomorrow for the Hall of Fame game. So, again, same thing there. Tyson Bagent starting that one. But lots of arguing on the sideline for Aaron Rodgers and Garrett Wilson. They're saying it's part of getting on the same page. You can read into it what you want. I don't think it's a thing where you knock them down. But for me, as somebody that's a little bit down on the Jets offense, thinks that people are overrating its potential to score a lot of points. That's a defense that's going to carry that team. I think it's worth noting that Aaron Rodgers and Garrett Wilson started hot. And it seems like now as the practices get tougher, as the defense starts to lock in more, a little bit less success for those guys so far. But, you guys know my Garrett Wilson anti-priors. Roman Wilson, another Wilson here. A lot of Wilsons coming up in these news items here for the next few. Roman Wilson has a foot / ankle injury, which led to him being carted out. We talked about that yesterday. Happened while we were on the stream. Expected to be ready for the start of the season and still has the best shot at the wide receiver 2 job, according to The Athletic. Though Freiermuth is expected to be the de facto wide receiver 2, was an exact quote there. Van Jefferson and Calvin Austin got all the routes after Wilson went out. So no Quez Watkins in the mix there. And Roman Wilson now going to have to dig up a little bit there. Malik Neighbors being here feels pretty fun. I think this team, makes me happy. I'm obviously happy to get Neighbors whenever. At a certain point, I would like to try to get with the field on Derrick Henry, but a team where I don't have a bet on Houston at all. I have enough Houston bets. Would prefer Henry in those, so I'm not going to go that way. We'll go Jamar Chase, Jalen Waddle, Malik Neighbors. Just a receiver start so far. Not sure if I'm committing yet to being a 0 RB boy today, but we'll see how it goes. Can you talk about Woodrow Wilson next? Cover all the Wilsons throughout history. There's too many Wilsons. Wilson for home improvement. Great guy. Love what he's doing. Haven't seen Neighbors fall there in weeks. Yeah, me neither. That's just why I was like, I'll just do it. But I agree. The ADP still is basically right there. But it does seem like people's enthusiasm for Neighbors may be coming down a little bit. Results of, I guess, him not having any barn burner practices really. But he's been the focal point. The offense looks worse when they gave Neighbors a rest day. Seems like they're just mostly keeping Neighbors ramped down just to keep him safe. Not injured. They know what he can do, and they know they're going to get the ball in his hands no matter what. A lot of Pittsburgh items, so bear with me. So we talked about the part with Calvin Austin, Van Jefferson, wide receiver 2, running for him now with Roman Wilson out. Steelers also ran the ball 6 out of 7 times in their 7 shots practice, which is them doing basically 7 plays in a row inside the red zone. Commitment to the run, again, not great for George Pickens, who has gotten steamed up, as though people don't remember what happened for Drake London and an Arthur Smith offense last year. But I do have to point out here, 6 out of 7 times in that drill is A, not the most common, B, read into it what you will. They're in the red zone. They're going to run the ball. So love the running backs. Or they're going to get opportunity. Pass game work, though, we will see about that. What about Wilson Phillips? We're digging deep. Our boy Alex P. Keaton. Though relevant, I guess, if your name is Alex P. Keaton and sounds like Family Ties. We got Steelers also. Russell Wilson being held out by Tomlin. Should be a full go soon. So Russell Wilson wants to be out there. Instead, they're letting Justin Fields continue to get first-team work. And it's the choice of Mike Tomlin. You want to read a little bit into this? I'm not a Justin Fields drafter, so this is not me trying to find a way to my priors. Feels like they want to get a longer look at Justin Fields. If they're holding Wilson out and he can go, like Wilson needs to get in there, start doing some stuff with that offense. So I think to me, really, Russell Wilson not being out there and it being Tomlin's choice, I think not a bad thing for Justin Fields, who's acquitting himself perfectly okay in practice. I don't think he's been great by any stretch based on the reports, but he's feeding guys. He's doing what he's supposed to do. He's running. I don't know. It's something. For me, as somebody who thinks that Russell Wilson's locked to the starting job, I think it's worth noting here that they're holding him back seemingly to get a longer look at what Fields can actually do. So this one I'm surprised by, especially given the Ben Albright post that we talked about yesterday. But Troy Franklin got a puff piece in The Athletic, 2 good practices in a row, has had some first-team work working with the current first team, which is Jared Stidham and Bo Nix splitting those reps. We'll talk about more in a moment. But Franklin apparently is doing what he's supposed to do, getting coached up hard and responding well to it. So I was surprised to see it on my feed this morning, but I have to point it out. It was a news item that stood out to me, given a lot of the Troy Franklin debate lately on social media. Another Wilson here, Zach Wilson, shifted to the second team for Denver, while Jarrett Stidham and Bo Nix are getting more consolidated reps. Does seem like that's part of the deliberate ramp-up process that Sean Payton was talking about. Could also be something where they switch it back around and maybe, Nix gets more reps one day with Wilson and then Stidham gets less reps. So we'll keep an eye on that one, but it does seem like Zach Wilson falling out of favor there, even though he's had some good plays, it sounds like, from the beat reporters. Sam Howell competing more with PJ Walker for QB2 than Geno for QB1 was an exact quote. So not a good one you want to see there if you were one of the people who is keeping the line on for Sam Howell, hoping that he takes a job from Geno Smith. So that's one there. Doesn't matter for me, might matter for you guys. As I'm trying to balance here when I give my news items on stream. A little bit of a discount for Amari Cooper, even more of a discount for Pacheco. I would like to get more of both guys. We do have the bet on Miami, and also Cincinnati for week 16. So I'm going to favor Amari Cooper here. This really was a spot where I would have been happy to get Pacheco at that 4-pick discount. But Cooper here correlating in week 17 with Jalen Waddle, correlating in week 16 with Jamar Chase. I think that's too logical. So 4 receivers to start here: Jamar Chase, Jalen Waddle, Malik Neighbors, Amari Cooper. Not my usual go-to guys, so we will see if we do something different here. And Terry McLaurin up to 45. Steam him up, boys. Steam him up. Oh, this is hurtful. Bo Nix older than Joe Biden. Bo Nix older than Jarrett Stidham. All right. Well, that's a tough news item. But Bo Nix also has showed more of a ceiling in his life than Jarrett Stidham has, I would think. So Sam Howell, playing there. Just don't draft Sam Howell if you were doing that. It was never a good move. Jonathan Mingo played ahead of Xavier Leggett, seemingly holding him at bay as Mingo continues to look good. Mingo's had rave reports here. I think if you are looking for late correlation, Bryce Young and Mingo on the menu. Still assume that Mingo loses work at some point to Leggett, but it's possible that Thielen could lose work. Somebody's got to regress there to get Leggett on the field. But Mingo's playing well enough, it seems like, to keep Mingo at bay, or to keep Leggett at bay for now. Jordan Whittington from the Rams, repping with the first team now a little bit. Killed Tre'Davious White on one play, according to the beat reporters. Something to note there, again, a guy getting some positive signal. A team in the Rams that we know is not shy from feeding rookies if they are earning that role and doing the work that's deemed appropriate. So Whittington, the drum beat's getting a little bit louder, even though he's going to be playing behind DeMarcus Robinson to start the year at the very least. And last one here, again, I go in ADP order for the news items as well if you want to skim through it, but Johnny Wilson making some red zone touchdown grabs, using his size well. They also like his blocking. I wouldn't be shocked to see him getting some wide receiver 3 work. Paris Campbell's leading that room right now, but it seems like Aeneas Smith is not really in the mix as much. Johnny Wilson getting red zone work. Johnny Wilson, as we've talked about many times, big body dude, probably can't play all your snaps for you because it's hard for a big guy to be on the field for that much. But he can make big plays. Great EPA receiver. Looked better in a lot of metrics than Keon Coleman last year at FSU. Obviously, he didn't get the draft capital, but he's playing well. So there we go. It's wild to me how Mingo's been left for dead already. It's tough because it's a new regime, and also he was just so egregiously bad last year. I wasn't in on him last year, so I can't really explain that process. I'm willing to buy him a little bit now, but it is tough with Leggett really directly coming for him. AR goes, so that will not be a part of our plans. AR goes ahead of Lamar, which is a bit of a shocker to see here. Okay. ADP pick right now would be Lamar. Kincaid for elite tight end. You know what? This fucker's coming up. I'm going to get a share here. I'm going to take Rashee Rice. Feels like the suspension for him is not going to happen. As wide receiver 5, even if it does, I'm sort of insulated from it. Would like to up my Jaden Reed, but we didn't really have any logical reason to do that. Calvin Ridley, I'm okay with my exposure. Chris Godwin, I don't really want to go nuts on right now. So in this kind of build at the very least. So we'll go Rashee Rice here. We've seen Rashee Rice go in the late 40s. I am not crazy about the KC offense, but I do want to be with the field on the exposure for him. So I'm just going to do that and live with it. And a little bit of a panic pick to me too. Just didn't really want Kincaid in this build, to be honest. Mingo had his chance to shine. No chance he gets more opportunity than he had last season. Yes, but again, he's playing well enough, and there's enough of a drumbeat there that it could just be a blocker for Leggett. I would say Leggett should probably come down a little bit right now with Mingo. Mingo should be cusp draftable in the 18th round, but it is still just like 1 week camp. He can get worse again. He could regress. I mean, that's sort of what mediocre players do, is that they'll look good for a stretch. They'll look really bad for a stretch. And for him, he can't afford to look bad for a stretch right now. We see the elite tight ends going. The Andrews Lamar guy gets it 43 and 54. I don't know what that's really doing for you. Would have been nice if he had a Houston receiver for this team as well, but he does get Derrick Henry with Lamar, with Mark Andrews. Maybe a little bit unique there. I'll be clicking Mingo down the stretch. 20th round on DK. You need him desperately. Need something in the 18th round. Correlated for Carolina, Tampa Bay in week 17. I think that's when you take Mingo. There we go. A lot of Mingo talking. Grandpa Nicks. We're really running the gamut here of things. Rashad White up. Bucky Irving, another highlight play again. I don't know about you guys. I know there's a lot of people out there who love Rashad White. Are we seeing a lot of Rashad White highlights? No. And granted, I'm certainly looking a little bit, but I get Bucky Irving highlights on my feed now, like unsolicited. It's not just me, searching for my niche Bucky Irving porn. I'm getting it in my feed from regular, credible people. So Rashad White coming up would not be the move to me, but unbadged draft in the 11 hole. Rashad White, close enough, I guess. Rashad White ahead of James Cook feels a little wrong to me. 62.7 ADP on Rashad. Sure. Go get your guys, I guess. Hashtag go get your guys, as some people might say. Such a great point about players looking good for a stretch and not overreacting. I mean, that's the whole thing. Like, that's why we look for the signal more so about who's running with the first team, especially as it becomes more of a thing where the first team is consolidated and there's like a clear delineation from first team guys and second team guys. But obviously, you don't always have that, so you extrapolate off of what you can. But it's hard. It's hard to dial out the noise. Like Xavier Worthy, I would like to get more of as well. He's making a lot of plays in camp. That said, I still fundamentally believe there's a really crowded KC room. I'll take Rashee Rice because I think he's proven to me enough in terms of being a target earner. And suspension risk is seemingly getting to be less and less there by the day. One of the lawyer guys on Twitter, I think is it Drew Davenport? I forget. One of the guy with like the green avatar is the lawyer guy. I think there's a couple football law guys, but that's one of the guys I see the most in my feed. He was talking about how like basically the longer we go with no news items, it's more and more likely he's not going to get suspended. There isn't even a criminal filing yet for it, which is odd. And it could be information gathering, but like Rashee Rice, they're just not there where he's going to get punished this year, unfortunately. I mean, I guess fortunately for some people, but unfortunately for me as somebody who like has really been unsure about how to handle this entire time. Fantasy lawyer Drew, there you go. Tyler files all that stuff, I know. Rashad White started to come back up a little. I think he's a little overpriced, but nowhere near as bad as his big board ADP. I think he should be in the 70s. I've stood by that. I think he's more of a Dave Montgomery style play than he is a Josh Jacobs or James Cook. But people can take it however they want, I suppose. 0050 here. Just not the pocket, really, for anything fun. Kenneth Walker as a value. I'm getting the value Kenneth Walker enough. Just really nothing ADP-wise is screaming to me here. Walker. I honestly would rather take Alvin Kamara, I feel like. It's fine. We'll see. Maybe we get Kamara on the way back. Maybe not. But Kenneth Walker to me in a build without Chicago-Seattle stuff, I'm low on Walker. I'm low on the Seattle backfield overall, honestly. Like I like Charbonnet's talent. It just feels like a timeshare and one where there's going to be enough pass game production. This team passing a lot more this year with Ryan Grubb as the OC that I'm just like, I'm kind of not in on Seattle as much as I thought I would be. I really thought we'd take a lot more Charbonnet, but he also goes in a range where a lot of guys in the 130s I do like more. Haven't drafted Mingo since the 20th in the big board. I mean, look, I think it's reasonable. The main thing for this stuff too, and I think, some people like to play the prediction game more. I really think for most stuff, you're trying to see like, hey, is there a news item that I can really feel confident about? Some reporter saying something, some reason why this guy should be coming up to me. And then when the guy's coming up, you start to take him a little bit. So for me with Mingo, like I don't like him. I don't think he's talented. I took him a little bit last year because he was a rookie with good draft capital, but I didn't like him much as like a player. Now this year, it's like, okay, we have a new situation. He's a year 1 to year 2 guy. Like it's starting slow. I believe in the offense being better. There's enough for me to make a case for Mingo, so I think he becomes draftable. But not to go out of my way to get him in every draft or anything, but get a few shares. I feel like if you feel that in the time period, then get a few shares in that time period. And then if you don't hear more to cement that hypothesis you have for a guy, then you dial it back and don't take the guy anymore. Did 3 drafts this Saturday, got a Puka Marv start, seen a Puka Marv start, and then my last draft took Marv to stop the next guy. Well, look, a lot of people are getting Puka and Marv. I think we all know that. Kamara does go here. David Montgomery comes back, which I'm never upset about. Kyler Murray is here, which doesn't correlate with anything we have. I feel like I'm not setting up future correlation as well as I would normally like to thus far. Fuck, man. Do I just keep hammering Montgomery at this point? Go Ramondre. I can't pass him up past ADP. Like Montgomery to me is just like the most easy click in a hero RB, zero RB build. It's going to continue to be the case, unfortunately for me. Like I would like to deviate, but it's like the guy I would take over and my guess to level it out would be Kamara. Kamara didn't come back to me. I'm not going to take Ramondre over him, and Ramondre goes normally 82. A lot of times goes late 80s in some rooms. People don't like that Patriots offense that much. So you have a 0-2-5-0 build so far. You have Kenneth Walker, David Montgomery, Jamar Chase, Jalen Waddle, Malik Neighbors, Amari Cooper, and Rashee Rice. So again, a little bit of Cleveland, Miami. We got the Cleveland as a unifying correlation here, so maybe that pushes us more towards Cleveland stacking later on. Nothing we can do at this point in the draft to make that happen, make it any better right now. How about that McMillan hype from Todd Bowles? He's got a lot of hype. I don't know. I think he's fine. I still think ultimately, though, you need to not bet on Godwin, need to not bet on Evans in drafts where you take them, and you have to hope those guys fail. I think it's hard to get, I think, a rookie to have that much production, with two really good targets next to him. And then K-Dot, for what it's worth, should theoretically be improved again. Another year in this offense, another year of rapport with Baker Mayfield. And then you have more weapons too. Like I think Bucky Irving's a thing. So I think that kind of pulls as well, away from where McMillan's theoretical production comes from. Somebody goes down, he could be maybe a smash play, but I think he's still mostly, I think he's more of a contingent value play than he is like a real play. I don't know. I think he and Jermaine Burton both to me this entire time have been guys where it's like, there's a lot more threat for these guys, like just being on the field enough, targeted enough to have the upside that people think. And like Burton, we're now seeing the flip side where Yoshivas is getting all the hype. People are now going down on Burton. I think McMillan, it's like there's nobody threatening for him for hype. Like Trey Palmer's there. We know what he is, but he's not getting any camp hype at all. I think McMillan is one of those guys where like you just need the big dogs to fail more. Is Ramondre like Devin Singletary? And what is that's a very vague question. Not great offenses theoretically, but having the lion's share of both pass game work and rushing work. I guess, yeah, they're similar plays. I think Ramondre probably has a more secure role overall. The Giants have some young guys that theoretically could move up and take work away, whereas like nobody is threatening Ramondre right now. He got the contract. Gibson's behind him, who's not really a threat, maybe a threat for some pass down work. And I think Kevin Harris is having a good camp, but he's like locked into RB3. You're all going down on Burton, whatever. You're moving Burton downwardly. You prefer that phrasing for it. I'm not going to pause by myself. I say like fucking 1,000 words. How many words? What would be the count of words I say here? We're talking a 60-minute stream. I probably say how fast I talk, 75 to 100 words a minute. I'm saying 600 words a day at least, right? That math out. You're all going down. You're all going down. Are you not going down on Burton? I think you are going down on Burton. Where's Burton's ADP right now? Burton, if I'm ranked higher than ADP, he must have fallen from Saturday because I'm not a person who's above the field on Burton. Look, I've had my Burton piece. I've gave my Burton takes for months. You guys were like, Burton's so great. We love Burton. Hey, let's get some more Burton, everybody. That's what you guys were saying in chat for fucking months. Especially this guy. This guy loves Jermaine Burton. This guy loves Aladdin Jermaine Burton. You want two fades. There's your guys. Hakeem Butler better than Burton. I don't know about that. Charlie Jones looking good too, apparently. Or was looking good earlier in camp. There was a T. Higgins article talking about how T. Higgins, by the way, I guess he admitted that he was like really distracted last year. Anxious was what his mom was saying about his Bengals situation. This year, apparently he's refocused. That's part of why he signed the franchise tag so quickly. We'll see if it actually equates to being on the field. They did mention in there that when Higgins was out, that both Yoshivas and Charlie Jones were really making themselves look more valuable. And like Higgins was excited by that because he's trying to be, he's like a team player kind of guy. So I don't know. A lot of Steve people who are not Burton. I didn't know we were talking about Jermaine Burton and Kermit the Frog. was that Kermit the Frog? I didn't feel like it was. We have a falling Jake Ferguson here. There's a more logical tight end for us, perhaps at the next pick. I do want to get more Ferguson. But a build with no Tampa Bay, no Philly is probably not the one to do it. We can get Raheem Mostert here to correlate. I have no issue with DeAndre Swift either. With our bet on Seattle. But I'd rather build out Miami. No! Ferguson! Fuck! Oh, that click was in. Oh, I've had close clicks. I'm not going to be mad at having Ferguson here. I just wanted Njoku at 102. So fuck. All right. That's on me. That doesn't happen for me in a while. I'm usually like, I get my clicks are like low latency clicks lately, but that's fuck. That's tough. That's tough. I think Gibbs is more of a threat to Stevenson volume than Tracy is to Singletary. I mean, like, I'm not a big Tracy guy. I think there's similar amounts of threats, to be honest. There's also multiple guys who are like Eric Gray is still in the mix enough for the Giants. Dante Miller, Turbo Miller having a pretty good camp as well. Might not matter, but still, there's enough guys there that are getting some positive signal, I would say. Dak Prescott goes to the CeeDee Lamb drafter. I'm sure is disappointed not get Ferguson back as well. Sorry to Rosenberger. Yeah, Njoku would have made this team a little bit cleaner. We would have basically been locked into a Cleveland-Miami stack, which I would have liked. But I guess scooping the Ferguson value, again, knowing he goes in the 60s, the 70s in some rooms, I'm not going to be mad at it. My fingers are plenty nimble. Look at these fingers. Look at these things go. You can't even keep up. Man. It's going to happen. Look, when you stream, this is fucking stream draft number 149 for me in 2024. When I stream this many drafts, odds are I'm going to miss a click one time. Like I have absolutely missed under 5 clicks on this year. So I feel good about my click ratio. How dare you? I can keep up. I play Overwatch against little Korean kids all the time and dust them. My fingers are killing it. How dare you? There's one thing I do not have. It's fat fingers. I got lanky, luxurious fingers. All right. Pick 101 coming up here. Our Lord and Savior Jaden Daniels. Probably not a logical pick for this one. Njoku would have been a logical pick, but of course my long and luxurious fingers didn't hit that click. What is this guy going to do? Okay, third eye blindside hits goes Jordan Love. I would like to continue to get some more Zach Moss because I'm getting Chase Brown. Zach Moss coming at a cheaper price tag was sort of the hope this entire time. It seems like it's working out okay. Receiver, you don't want to go back to receiver yet. And Njoku would be fucking logical, though. But Moss also works enough. Get another RB in here. Don't really want to do 2 tight ends in a row here because it's just going to make us a little bit too far behind at RB/receiver. Like the trickle down to 2 tight ends in a row in the spot, I think, is rough unless you really hit those early positions well and feel like your team is balanced. So that's part of my logic for not going David Njoku here. Team so far is a 0-3-5-1. We have Kenneth Walker, David Montgomery, Zach Moss. We have Jamar Chase, Jalen Waddle, Malik Neighbors, Amari Cooper, Rashee Rice are the wide receivers. So getting a little bit of Rashee Rice after being low on him pretty much the entire year. Jake Ferguson also getting some more shares of him after getting one of my few early shares yesterday in a Dak Prescott CeeDee Lamb build. But of course, Jake Ferguson was an accidental click, soaking up the value. DraftKings 1.5 mil isn't even half full with only 6 weeks left. Is Underdog BBM filling at the right pace? I mean, they're both basically the same one, but I would assume BBM will be more likely to fill. DraftKings with their pricing, that price tag going up is never going to be something that helps the tournament fill when they couldn't even fill it last year. At a $15 price tag was what, or was it? No, it was 10 last year. I think it was 5 the year before last, 10 last year, now 20 this year. So like you can't raise the price on people that much and expect to fill it when you couldn't even fill it at $10. It's basically the issue they have. Let's see. I was doing a sleepy drafters draft the other night and dazed through one pick and got audited exactly who I wanted without a queue. Very blessed. That'll happen sometimes. More often than not, it won't. Your BBM will absolutely fill, no matter what. They just won't have any other tournaments if BBM were at risk of not filling. But I do think this, I said it yesterday, no disrespect to Underdog. They try new things. It's what's going to happen. I think Underdog oversaturated the industry. We're having so many tournaments, so many options. And then you also have, DraftKings, you have drafters. There's enough tournaments out there where Underdog doing similar ones to those guys. Obviously not full point PPR, but besides that, That's really the big thing, I think, that's kind of keeping all the tournaments down this year. But, what are you going to do? I have way too much Puka MHJ. I'm passing on Marv now in those spots. So great. Again, love to hear that for everybody. I'm still at stone cold 0, so have no fear for me. Chase Brown up to 109. Going to get some CLV on him, it looks like. Javonte Williams up to 110. He looks fine, but Estime is looking like a hammer, which is what we want to see. Highlighted camp yesterday was Estime driving one of the DBs back like 5 yards on 1 point of contact. So I feel very good about the Estime bags. You can feel okay about the Javonte bags as well. I think he's having a perfectly fine camp, it sounds like. But Estime is looking like a force of nature, which is what we want to see. Last year, obviously, there was a lot of stuff that I think worked out pretty well in terms of my early takes. I think last year there wasn't as much of it feels like everything is kind of looking okay for my guys so far. Like, honestly, seeing that Troy Franklin puff piece, I was like, what? Like, I thought we were all fucking out on this guy after Ben Albright, but maybe that's the thing is the athletic Denver beat guy might disagree with Ben Albright and put that piece out to be like, hey, this isn't correct. I don't know. I don't know what's going on in the Denver minutia. But I feel like right now the Priors are looking pretty good. But we will see. We'll see what happens. We got a lot of time still. Obviously, a lot of injuries can come up over this next 5-week window. So keep that all in mind. No early victory lapping, even when it feels good. All right, picks coming up here. Our 0351 build. Some did make the news items. Rico Dowdle, according to one beat reporter, like the best RB in camp yesterday. Again, feels like them pushing back a little bit on the other thing that people were talking about, which is that Rico Dowdle and Malik Davis competing for a roster spot. So just something to keep in mind there amidst all the other nonsense that goes on. Brock Purdy makes no sense for this team. It's not great pockets aligning for me. We got Ferguson, so we could do... I'm going to do Zeke. I don't know if Zeke is coming up. I thought he would come up after the quotes from Stephen Jones that we talked about yesterday and I just mentioned. Not sure if it's going to lead to him coming up, if then it's followed by Rico Dowdle having this allegedly great day in camp. But Zeke, to me, can get up to the 100 to 110 range, and I'd feel like that's a reasonable price tag. He's old. He's not great. He's not efficient, all of that. But I really think there's going to be a lot of issues for people parsing that out. People don't know what to do, I think, with this Dallas backfield. So we'll see. So the SFA quote where he thinks blocking is just as important as rushing. So he seems to have his head on the right. Yeah, he knows what he's got to do. I mean, he's a guy, again, another guy that likes contact, another guy that also breaks to the second level, does a lot of good stuff. Curious to see. Denver Sports Talk World has major beef, but Albright is the guy. Okay. Yeah. I mean, personal airing of laundry aside, he's a little bit of a weird guy. I don't know. Weird to see them both at the same time. And that was what stood out to me the most about Albright's tweets, was that there were so many positive reports about Troy Franklin, and then it's like, oh no, he fucking sucks. And he basically was like, Joshua, he didn't say these words, but this is how it kind of came off to me. He's like, Josh Reynolds is so much better. Troy Franklin's a big idiot. They're yelling at him. It's like, and then you see a report that he's having the best, some of the best practices. It's hard to parse out. Usually the beat reporters kind of go in one wave together. I don't feel like there's a lot of them where they're in disagreement about a thing, but who knows? All right, picks coming up here. Top of the board, just unmoving. People go reaching for other guys. Tua here would be a valid one to grab, but honestly, QB seems like it's falling in this room a pretty good amount. Eckler to add another RB would be okay. You know what? Dallas Goedert, another tight end. He's falling here, 10 spots. We'll take him. So basically, we have our Week 17 tight end correlation and then a little bit of Zeke on top here, but a micro Dallas-Philadelphia correlation. I'm obviously pushing everything a little bit later on for QB, so that's why I'm just going to take a value tight end here, soak it up a little bit. So let's give this team a read. I got to try to figure out what the end game is here a little bit. 0452. Kenneth Walker, David Montgomery, Zach Moss, Ezekiel Elliott, Jamar Chase, Jalen Waddle, Malik Neighbors, Amari Cooper, Rashee Rice, Jake Ferguson, Dallas Goedert. So obviously an Amari stack would make sense. A Giant stack could work as well, with no bringbacks though. Do you think the Deshaun stack seems like the priority because we have the Miami bet coming back? So Probably a Deshaun priority move, but who knows what'll get pushed around and come back to me. Marathon's just the same thing as drafters, but I like the drafters payouts and path to free entries more. Yeah, look, I fully get them doing the same thing as drafters. I think that they should, if you're going to choose between them, I would say use drafters tournament. Drafters tournament also higher, well, I guess I can't fully say that, but I would say slightly higher likelihood of having overlay. And if nothing else, the free entries there is that was just mentioned, I think is an important thing to keep in mind. So go check out drafters. I know a lot of you guys have already deposited on Underdog. If you haven't, you want another BBM or another best ball site in your life with similar payouts to a BBM, 500K to first place on a $15 entry fee. Go check out drafters. Again, 17 weeks there, no pods, no playoff pods, full point PPR. We're gonna have some more drafts coming up on drafters soon. As soon as they ink the deal and send me money, we'll have some more drafters drafts. But if nothing else, we'll have drafts on Saturdays as well at 11 a.m. All right, Gabe Davis goes here. Gabe Davis, it's funny. Gabe Davis is probably getting the most positive camp reports out of everybody in Jacksonville right now, and nobody wants to take him. Like he still goes at 133 here. Brian Thomas, though, did look better, had a couple touchdowns in their session yesterday. So some of the early concerns for Thomas, like he's not a great target earner. It is always something I'm going to hold in like a little bit of like, oh, not great. Especially coming into a room where you have guys like Evan Ingram, guys like Christian Kirk, even Gabe Davis getting big money. You have target earners there, so that's my concern for Thomas. But the thesis of him the entire time has been he'll get big plays, he'll get touchdowns. He's a great red zone guy at LSU last year, and he's getting a little bit of the latter, and I guess he's had some deep plays as well. So getting both parts that we need to see from him just won't be, a 10 target per game guy unless he went somewhere else or like Christian Kirk died, then then maybe we can get there. You capitalize, you were deep in the bag for Tim Patrick. Tim Patrick has had, he hasn't had 2 knee injuries, right? He's had 1 catastrophic knee injury as an over 30 player, which is enough. I don't know. I wouldn't keep the light on for Tim Patrick personally. But he's running some routes. I don't know if he's playing in pads. He's moving at least. I don't think that's where you want to be personally. You got Mims, you got Troy Franklin, you got like 2 young guys who theoretically can hit a breakout. I know we're down on Mims after last year. The markets are. Tua came back. I think at this point, Tua is a perfectly valid pick for this team. Yeah, I'm going to go Tua. Do I want Deshaun more? I feel like I have enough Deshaun. Let's try Deshaun exposure. Yeah, I got slightly more Deshaun than Tua. But I'll go Tua. I think it just feels better to have Tua at a 16-pick discount rather than being in a spot where I have to potentially reach for Deshaun. I'm getting really boxed out at QB here, and I just don't want to be without QB for much longer. So going to go Tua here before Tyreek Hill drafter takes him. Sorry to that guy. You wanted Tim P to do plenty last year, and sadly, Historic Info says he's mostly done physically, but glad he's paid and working. Reynolds paid to be that guy, and Tim P still rehabbing seemingly. There, Tyler, look, good explanation by Tyler as always. Yeah, QJ dropped balls yesterday, drops 2 more today. Sucks for him. He's really just going to be an up and down player. I don't think it precludes him from having like 1 or 2 spike week games here. Going at 180 now, I think in some draft rooms, like he can still get there as part of just a bet on the Chargers, but it's definitely not a bet. Like you don't want him on his own. You don't want to reach for QJ. It's sad. I don't know. I think there's a world where he could have been a better player, but last year he just like competing against guys who were better than him and seemingly just, I don't know. It didn't feel like he was just coached up enough either. Like he's a good yak guy. He was a really good yak guy in college and he didn't get those plays. Granted, he wasn't catching enough balls. Still finished as a positive EPA receiver. That's one thing I will say for him. Tyler Algier got the camp buzz about him getting worked on a lot or getting work a lot, and they're going to be leaning on him at points of the season. Seemed just like weird coach speak by the OC, Zach Robinson there. I think Algier's draftable. He's going to get steamed up for this. He's still just a pure handcuff, mostly for Bijan. But maybe you see more of like a 75-25 split for Bijan and Algier, which I think the ceiling is still there for Bijan enough that it shouldn't matter. But for some of you guys out there, you might view that as something that matters more. He dropped 2 balls. So I guess, yeah, it could be puberty for him. I don't think your balls don't drop specifically, right? Like I don't need to ask balls questions on this show. We got a 1-4-5-2 here. Nothing we desperately need at this point. RB, no obvious correlation. Ray Davis, always happy to go his way. Feels like a time for a receiver. Ricky Pearsall, week 16 correlation for Tua. Ricky's going to come up in ADP just from being on the field finally. So we'll take a share of Ricky Pearsall here. Not one of my favorite guys. This pocket, not one of my favorites unless I'm grabbing Ray Davis. But I don't feel like I need Ray Davis at this point. And Ray Davis had some fumbles yesterday, which might spook people off enough that even though there's been a lot of signal for him in the usage, being RB2 in the mix for power game downs, no matter what, short yardage downs, no matter what, Ray Davis has a shot at winning some of that stuff. It feels like the fumble stuff always spooks people away. So I'll let Ray Davis come back if he does. They'll get the Algier hype from that quote. I mean, saying you're going to lean on a back, like, I get it, but it is something where it's like, yeah, leaning on a back, like people say that about backups. People say, like, yeah, there's enough wording for coaches that they use that it wasn't really indicative of anything. So I would say for Algier, that's mostly how I'd feel about it, but happy to keep taking them when I have, Washington, I need an Atlanta correlation, or you have an Atlanta bet and you just need an RB. That's when you take Algier. Best Ball Overlay tool, by the way, you can see me measuring my exposures out live on stream here as I'm doing things. You can do that for yourself as well at bestballoverlay.com. Promo code SPLASH gets you $10 off at bestballoverlay.com. So really good deal there. You can get all the stuff in for basically $20 for the last month of Best Ball drafting. They'll have some more products coming up as well for Battle Royales. But in terms of managing my exposures, Best Ball Overlay tool has been a pretty big asset to me. And I've wanted to be mindful of my exposures, at least for players that I'm not, that I don't view as like a greater bet than other guys in their area. For things like Washington, that's my bet on the year. I'll do a lot of that stuff. But for other bets that are like tiebreakers, like Jaleel McLaughlin versus Jalen Wright versus Chuba Hubbard, that's one where you might just want to measure the exposures out. And I think that's where the Best Ball Overlay tool does add a lot of value. So check it out, bestballoverlay.com. Of course, made by best ball players, for best ball players, strong enough for a man, pH balanced for a woman. You got all that going for you at Best Ball Overlay. Please use the sensors the next time you expose yourself on stream. I'll keep that in mind. Garrett Wilson, 2 or 3 Rodgers CDs in early practice this morning while having some words the other day. They've had words multiple days in a row. But, again, the hope, if you're going to spin it positively, the hope of these guys arguing on the sidelines is that it builds the connection, establishes communication. It's one thing that I will say, for the younger guys out there, for even people that might need to hear it, they're older people than me. Communication is like the most important thing of anything, of any partnership, any relationship, anything, whatever. That's really the thing with Aaron Rodgers and Garrett Wilson. You hope that them communicating, whether it be on a loud voice or whether it be just them, talking on the sidelines, becoming friends, like still what you want to see. So it's not always going to be rosy. Getting some adversity maybe makes them better for it. I still just have concerns about the Jets offense. When you have a defense that good, what do you need the offense to do really? That's still fundamentally how I feel about it. But hey, we'll see. Has injury history ever played my draft strategy? No. Guys having like a big injury the year before, like J.K. Dobbins, not a lot of guys have overcome the injuries he's had. So maybe something like that. I do have that as part of it, but the market bakes in the stuff for the most part. So you don't want to double count stuff. It's like people who count the weather in a game and while looking at a Vegas total, and it's like weather is accounted for in the Vegas total. You don't want to ever double count anything. And I think a lot of people's instinct is to double count stuff. All right. Quentin Johnston still floating around here. Do need the second QB, but it doesn't make the most sense to go Deshaun here. Deshaun, a slight faller. We don't really want to game stack 2 QBs in the same game, though. I'll get a share of Dobbins. Dobbins has been with the first team enough for the Chargers. Seemingly still leg hasn't fallen off, I guess would be the best way to phrase it for Dobbins. I'm okay getting another share here. Nothing correlation-y unless we set up some Denver stuff late. So J.K. Dobbins will be the pick for right now. We will see what we get on the way back. This guy getting 3 tight ends in a row. Seemingly unstacked stuff. All right. You got a stack with Jordan Love. Good for him. And A.D. Mitchell. Okay. You got some stacks going. Always good to see a non-bad drafter actually stacking things up. What a treat. Yeah, I mentioned that one up top. Rodgers not going to play in the preseason. So, yeah, slow start for him would make sense. Slow year for him would also make sense. But it's funny, too, because he did, some people on social media were dunking on Aaron Rodgers a little bit, pointing out the reason apparently he's not going to play in the preseason is his Achilles recovery, even though according to him, he could have played last year. He's perfectly ready to go from the Achilles at the end of last season, but the games didn't matter. So Aaron Rodgers, I don't know, the bullshit artistry. I guess you could admire it. You can hate it, you can admire it. Follow your heart. Aaron Rodgers doesn't need preseason. First of all, please don't call him AR. With the real AR, Anthony Richardson, I think would happily play in the preseason. But fake AR, yes, needs meditation retreats in Egypt. Well, do we? I don't even know that we know it was meditation, do we? I thought it was like a religious excursion for him. Probably for him, he had to find the truth about some race coming from Egypt. I don't know. I don't know what Aaron Rodgers is investigating. Knowing him, he's probably in a national treasure style hunt through Egypt, trying to get to the bottom of some fucking YouTube TikTok theory he saw at 2 a.m. Some of us no badge bums can draft. Okay, sometimes some can. In general, you want to assume not, but some can. I won't take that away from you. It seems a little bit less matchy than I normally like. We got our Miami-Cleveland game stack. That feels fine. We got to figure out what to do down the home stretch here for QB2. And, frankly, I think it's time to buy in again. Let's see. Yeah, we're going to go Troy Franklin here. No reason to take Michael Wilson, really. A little bit of a value, that's fine. Baker Mayfield, no Tampa Bay correlation. Levis, no correlation for him either. So we're going to go Troy Franklin. We're going to try to backdoor Bo Nix and maybe a Bo Nix 2 QB build. No matter what Bo Nix is getting on the field at some point, obviously would like him to be the starter week 1. He's still minus 375 to be the starter week 1, even though Jared Stidham is currently beating him out in camp, according to every beat reporter there. We'll go Troy Franklin at 173. I think this is now a buying point for me. I've seen enough signal for him. Still believe in the talent. He might be blocked from starting and playing 40 routes a game. I can live with that. Start the year. I think at a certain point, we see Josh Reynolds again be a guy who can't play well when Jared Goff is in his QB, and we'll see how that goes. A non-badge pro in BBM4. Doesn't Freed have a badge? I don't know. I don't pay that much attention, to be honest. It was just for the drugs in Egypt? Are there great drugs in Egypt? Not that I'm aware of. Classic Carjuan Perry finish. I don't think we're doing the Perry finish anymore. I think it's fully Cedric Wilson finish time. If you really want to be down to the numbers accurate to what we're hearing, A.T. Perry is getting fucking browbeaten by... A.T. Perry's getting browbeaten by Dennis Allen every week. It's very tilting to hear. We got a 1572 build. We'll give it a read here, and I could try to think about, again, my end game for the umpteenth time. We got Tua Tagovailoa here, Kenneth Walker, David Montgomery, Zach Moss, Ezekiel Elliott, J.K. Dobbins here. So for sure, a unique RB room. This team is not like ones I've drafted. My Jacquard it'd be like, what are you doing? Did somebody hijack your account? I guess what it would ask me. Jamar Chase, Jalen Waddle, Malik Neighbors, Amari Cooper, Rashee Rice, Ricky Pearsall, and Troy Franklin. At a tight end, Jake Ferguson, Dallas Goedert. I think the team, the draft capital for the team is okay, besides, pushing QB into the danger zone potentially. I think the draft capital for the team is okay. The part that I have trouble with is this is a lot of guys that I don't take a ton of. And a lot of guys too, I don't have the utmost faith in. So I think that's sort of my main issue, is that I probably over-hedged against my takes in this build. And as a result, I'm not getting guys in pockets that I feel comfortable with, that I usually manage. So we got different, but probably a little bit too different from what I really want my bets to be based on the things that I believe in football coming up this year. Let's see. At least we can trust Dennis Allen means it when he talks shit, I guess. But if you talk shit about everybody, what does it really mean? You talk shit about everybody besides Taysom Hill, which I don't know how useful that is. But yeah, he does talk shit about everybody, I suppose. So maybe some honesty. He's researching pyramid conspiracy theory. He's like, so did big space cats make this? He's looking around for big space cat bones. It's nonsense. A tadpole getting first team reps. Time to start adding a tadpole to your best ball teams. Are they in the mix for the first team, or are they only getting a few reps? Because that's a big difference for the tadpole. How much Chubb do I have? Not a lot. I am not Team Chubb. 1%, taken mostly in the 140s. He shouldn't be priced in the 120s, is how I feel about it. he's another guy that's going to have a hard time overcoming his injuries. We've seen him squatting. He's cutting and stuff. He's doing what he's got to do. Like, I get that part of it, but him being older, sort of hard to have faith in that. Yes, Bill Belichick did sign with Underdog and talked about that up top a little bit, but yeah, he'll be doing a show called Coach where he breaks down plays and stuff. I guess potentially with Josh Norris, which would be huge for him. Josh Norris, you fucking getting to do some cool guest hosting spots or co-hosting spots with different people for sure. Okay. We got some picks here that I think make sense. I don't think we are doing the car backdoor. They're going to go with Audric Estime here. So we're going to get our 6th RB in. Could make the case with Kenneth Walker as a quote-unquote hero RB that I could go to 5, but I don't trust Kenneth Walker that much, and I think that's more of a true 0 RB style team, and we'll try to get some things back that would be good for me as well. Got a Denver bet with Cincinnati, maybe with the QB, but we're back on the estimate Troy Franklin bullshit, and I'm happy for it. Could make the case to go 2 QBs the last 2 picks, honestly, but we will see what we do. Blorp, blorp, blorp. Is it Dennis Allen just old school, run some dirt on it or rub some dirt on it? Yeah, I mean, I guess there's old school guys. He's also not even that old, I think. Like, he's probably like what, late 40s, early 50s? Probably early 50s. 51 years old. It's not that old where it's not like Belichick or fucking Bruce Arians when he was on the cusp of retiring. You don't have to talk like you're in the 1920s necessarily. Be cruel to people. But yeah, if you get positive buzz from Dennis Allen, then yeah, that's like it's weight in gold, I suppose. So as far as it relates for fantasy and usage. But Bo Nix is he's faster than Dennis Allen too, so he's got that going for him. All right, so I think Daniel Jones is the move for this first one here. I still would be open to getting Bo Nix, but I think Daniel Jones a better play. And I think we might be able to get Bo Nix back. I think people are going to be out on Bo Nix starting potentially because of Jarrett Stidham playing ahead of him in camp. So we'll see. In this room full of, maybe not the sharpest drafters in the world, but this side of the board sharper than the other side. We'll see if we can get Bo Nix and Daniel Jones. The reason I'm taking Daniel Jones, number one, I want this to be a 3 QB build. Number two, when you take Malik Neighbors, the bet is already on Daniel Jones. So that's one to me where anytime I take Neighbors, I'm just going to take Daniel Jones for the most part if I'm dead in the water at QB. Just because of the fact that like Neighbors hitting means he's hitting early on. Somebody's got to feed him the ball. It's probably not going to be Drew Lock. Is how I feel about that. When the whole fan base hates you and you're on a hot seat, you can take it out on your players. That's a fair way to look at it as well. I mean, honestly, Dennis Allen, he felt like he should have been on the cusp of getting fired last year. I guess they showed some signs of life at the end of the season, but it felt like he was a guy that should have been more talked about. Like, are the Saints going to get rid of Dennis Allen? And there was not a single whisper about like getting rid of Dennis Allen, which shocks me a little bit. But hey, I'm not the one running that team, I suppose. Daniel Jones equals early season, Bo Nix equals late season. That would be the thesis as well, though. I do think Bo Nix will be out there early at some point. And if anything, Bo Nix not being able to handle pro defenses, it sounds like it's making Bo Nix run more because all the people at camp for Denver keep talking about how fast Bo Nix is, him running in plays. So there's honestly some interesting outs for Bo Nix, really. Don't think he's going to become, he's not going to become Jaden Daniels, AR, one of these guys in terms of how much he runs. If he runs 5 to 6 times a game, that's a good amount. That'd be, towards the higher end for guys that aren't real runners. I wish you would say I'm making a bet on Daniel Jones in a top hat and an old-timey voice. Well, I mean, Jeff, you are paying member, but I feel like that's a super chat. I would do it. I don't have a top hat though. I only have my Italian stereotype hat, my gangster hat, which is not quite a top hat. But I love a good old-timey voice. Please don't tempt me with a good time. Dennis Allen not getting fired is one of the more surprising things I've seen. I don't know if there's a coach who feels more disliked by their players than DA. I mean, again, if he's going to throw you under the bus in press conferences, like that's fucking item number one that players hate to see. So yeah, it's a tough scene for them. But I don't know, man. Like the team feels like it might be just competitive enough again. At a certain point, like being 8-9, what does that do for you? But I feel like they're going to be in the hunt to be around 8-9. Interesting that this guy taking Josh Wiley. We talked about this before. Chikakonkwo likely getting squeezed a little bit by Josh Wiley. They've talked about having a timeshare at tight end. Josh Wiley, as somebody pointed out in chat, was roommates with Will Levis last year, also traveled to Cancun with Will Levis, with DeAndre Hopkins, with Calvin Ridley for workouts. And Jake Okonkwo wasn't on that trip. So I think Josh Wiley, interesting. Like he and Theo Johnson more so, but interesting late round tight ends, I think, for these guys. Players I'm trying to gain more exposure of the last month of draft season. The guys that I've been mostly like blind to because of various reasons, probably the Alvin Kamaras, those dudes. Somebody else is going to pop up in news. I'm sure that'll make it different. But I think that there's room for me to have a lot of guys that I don't find the most interesting be the ones I'm drafting the most to make up on exposure. So Bo Nix came all the way back. The other thing we could do is go Theo Johnson in a 3 tight end room. But that does feel a little thin. We have a good bet on Denver, Cincinnati, so we'll try to capture a third game environment here. Back on the Bo Nix train, 3 QB build, 3-6-7-2 here. We have Tua, Daniel Jones, and Bo Nix. At RB, Kenneth Walker, David Montgomery, Zach Moss, Ezekiel Elliott, J.K. Dobbins, and Audric Estime. So some more micro correlations there. And of course, Estime, who I love, got him at a reasonable 188 price tag. Jamar Chase, Jalen Waddle, Malik Neighbors, Amari Cooper, Rashee Rice, Ricky Pearsall, Troy Franklin, and a tight end, Jake Ferguson and Dallas Goedert. So happy with the team. Think it could have been a little bit different, but we got 2 game stacks and 1 almost game stack with Daniel Jones. I can live with that. So you guys saw what happened yesterday. We got draft stock, so not going to do a second draft here today, but appreciate all you guys watching. If you enjoyed the show, please do deposit on Underdog. If you haven't played on Underdog before, promo code SPLASH on there, up to $250 in bonus cash. And what are you going to do? Use Bill Belichick's promo code. I'm here doing drafts. Bill Belichick hasn't done a best ball draft. He doesn't even know what it is. So he hears best ball. He thinks he's talking about his balls after it's getting drained by a 20-year-old. Go, please. Is that inappropriate now? Are we not allowed to make fun of Belichick? The fact he's fucking in his 60s, 70s, dating 20-year-olds? Well, fucking nuts. Still going to be a great show. Check it out. Promo code SPLASH. And if you are deposit Underdog, deposit on Drafters as well. Again, your EV on there is going to go a long way, especially if this tournament does overlay the Drafters Million, where it's $15 entries, $500K to first place, 17 weeks, no pods, no playoff pods. And again, you are getting total points in that one, full point PPR. So go play on Drafters, DRAFTERS.com. Use promo code SPLASH on there. Great to support the show. Get a $100 deposit match for yourself as well on Drafters.com. Thank you to all the fine folks who supported the show here. You too can support the show. Hit the join button down below for $4.99. You get a VIP Discord. My team reviews, 10 of them you get from me a month personally. I'll write up about your style and what you're doing. I also give you my rankings and the news items I have every day. I keep a backlog of them on a Google Doc that you have in the pinned part of the VIP Discord. So go ahead, join, get all that stuff for yourself. And hey, why not? Probably go ahead and use, point the wrong way. There we go. Go to probably.com, PROBLY.com, sports betting data. Want to build your bankroll for NFL season coming up, or just wrap your head around market-based betting, data, EV, all that stuff. Go to probably.com and check it out. That was one of the worst plugs I've given for my own app in a while. Speaking of, gamble responsibly, do all that. And I'll be back tomorrow with more, guys. Drafts here every Monday to Saturday at 11 a.m., so please subscribe down below. I don't even think I asked for subscribes at all. Please, for the love of God, subscribe, hit the like button, leave a comment. I'll be back tomorrow with more. Appreciate you guys watching. Best of luck. See you soon. Enjoy your days, and good luck again. Bye.